Welcome back to the Advisor Growth Experts YouTube channel, where we teach financial advisors how to grow, buy, and eventually sell their practice for more. My name is Patrick Brewer. I'm the founder of Advisor Growth Experts and the CEO of the Wealth Plan Group, which is an RIA that has about $2.5 billion in assets under management with advisors spread out around the country. Today's topic is niche marketing, and more specifically, how to pick the right profession-based niche like doctors, dentists, tech executives. When done well, this can transform your practice. It can lead to exponential growth because you're able to focus your marketing message, build a very specific high-value audience, and start to add clients rapidly. And the best part is those clients will refer very similar clients because they're all part of the same profession. When it's done poorly, you're gonna second-guess your decision, your growth rates are gonna slow, you're gonna waste money on marketing, you're not gonna get any traction, and you're always going to question your decision on whether you should go back to being more generally focused. So I want to save you from that fate of not picking the right niche and set you up for success right out of the gate. But before I do that, I want to talk about some of the mistakes that you've either made in the past or are maybe making right now as it relates to niche marketing. First mistake I see financial advisors make when it comes to niche marketing is the marketing part. They go through the process and the trouble of selecting a niche, and then they just forget to create content, audio, video, resources, blogs, things of that nature. The best part about niche marketing is it opens up the entire US to your ability to go out and acquire clients. But in order to actually get their attention and break through the noise and get them to meet with you, you need to create content that actually showcases how you can help them solve financial challenges. The second mistake I see advisors make is relying solely on their advisor peers, marketing consultants, or others in the industry when they go through the process of picking a niche. Just because one advisor had success with a particular market doesn't mean you're gonna have success. You have a very specific energy that you give off in interactions, whether that's digitally through audio or video or just personally in meetings. You need to make sure that your prospects and your clients align with the way that you communicate and that you believe what you believe in about markets and financial planning in general. So I'm gonna walk you through that process on how to make sure that you're energetically aligned so that you're not wasting a bunch of time and energy focusing on the wrong market. To be successful picking a niche and making sure you get it right the first time, you're gonna need to commit to 4 things. What are the types of interactions and people that give you energy? What is the specific problem that you're helping your ideal client solve? What type of marketing budget and process can you commit and stick to? And then what type of business and personal lifestyle are you wanting to maintain? Before you can feel confident about picking a niche, you need to figure out what types of interactions and people give you energy. What I've found is that this business is literally just an exchange of energies between the client and the financial advisor. And if there's a mismatch there, then somebody's gonna feel uncomfortable. So how do you make sure that you're energetically interacting with the right types of people and that when you create content, they're gonna be magnetized to you and want to work with you? There's a test. It's called the Myers-Briggs, the MBTI. You've probably heard it or have taken it in the past. And there's 2 letters specifically in the Myers-Briggs that I think give you a lot of information about how people view themselves, how they view the world, and ultimately how they interact as human beings. Those 2 letters are the N and the S. The N stands for intuition and the S stands for sensing. And simply put, intuitives tend to value ideas exploration. They tend to, explore the new methods for solving problems, and they tend to be a little bit more strategic and address the world more top-down versus bottom-up. Sensors are pretty much the opposite. They use proven processes, they're more practical, and they have a bottom-up way of solving problems. So if you're an advisor with an intuitive preference and you like to think about the world and problems and situations top-down, and you're dealing with a client who wants you to build bottom-up, there's always going to be a mismatch there in how you solve problems, how you communicate about values and goals, and it's just not going to end well. I actually made this mistake in my practice when I started it about a decade ago, and I chose retirees as the niche that I was going to focus on. And what I started to realize is that most retirees are actually pretty practically minded. They're looking to narrow their options, not expand them. They want to control risk, not maximize their returns in their situation as they get into their later years. So I was talking about all these big ideas, like what do you feel like you want to do over the next 10 years? Like where are you going? Like how do you envision your life changing? And they're sitting there like, I just want to be okay, man. Like I don't really want to talk about any of this deeper level stuff. And that's obviously sometimes there's an exception, right? You get 15, 20 people in there, you might find 1 or 2 what you really resonate with, but the other 80 to 90%, I felt like I was just going going through the motions, and it was really draining for me. So what I found is once I switched my niche over to business owners and entrepreneurs, I found a lot more people that I was energetically aligned with who had very strong intuitive preferences. And that's kind of where I fell into this method of figuring out first if somebody is an intuitive versus if they have a sensing preference. So what I've done is I've broken this out for you in a document, and I'm gonna go ahead and link it in the description below, where I take all the professions and I filter them through based on averages from what I've seen, right? This is not scientific. I don't have data. I don't have white papers around this. There's no statistical correlations or anything like that. But you'll see categorically how I've broken out the professions based on which ones I believe have an intuitive preference versus a sensing preference. So after you go through that list, I want you to go ahead and take the Myers-Briggs on a website called 16personalities.com. You can take it for free, and you can see what your preference is. Are you an intuitive? Are you a sensor? And then that'll give you a good categorical cut on what professions might make sense based on how you address the world, how you address your environment, problems, and ultimately people. Next, you need to figure out what specific problem you're solving for your niche. Many advisors are way too broad when it comes to the problems that they solve. I help people plan for their kids' college education. I help people secure their financial future. I help people achieve the retirement of their dreams. These statements are, I guess, nice to say, but they don't mean anything. They're not gonna let you cut through the noise, and you're not gonna get any new clients. So you need to create a painkiller statement that moves past these vitamins, right? We're handing people vitamins and saying, oh, I can do all this stuff to help you. Nobody wants to take vitamins. If they have a headache, they want to take a painkiller. So you need to come up with a statement that's actually going to cut through the noise and get the attention of your ideal client. So what is the formula for an effective painkiller statement? It's pretty straightforward. I've actually included a link in the description to a bunch of different painkiller positioning statements that you can steal. You can, feel free to change around based on your niche, but there's a lot of them in there, and the basic formula is always the same. It is, I help, insert niche, solve specific problem in insert time frame without experiencing some unexpected or alternative outcome that is painful. That's the basic framework. And you can actually see on my website, I have a positioning statement that follows that same framework. So my positioning statement is, I help financial advisors 5x their valuation within 3 years through a combination of marketing, M&A, and exit consulting services. So you can see how we map to financial advisors 5xing their valuation in 3 years through using these services. So feel free to adopt that. I think it's a pretty powerful way to address the market. And like I said, I've taken the guesswork out of it for you, so feel free to check out that document in the description. The third thing you're gonna wanna consider is, what is your appetite to create content, and also your budget for that content. You could be in the perfect niche, energetically aligned with your clients, meeting with people, loving life, but if you don't know how to source more of them, your practice isn't gonna grow. So 80% of your success is making sure you're picking the right niche. The 20% is gonna be related to getting your message out there and marketing effectively. Problem is, the 20% is actually gonna require you to roll up your sleeves and do the work. You're gonna have to create videos, you're gonna have to create audio, you're gonna have to create other resources that are actually useful to your ideal clients. You need to decide, are you willing to do that? Because you can't fully outsource it. Nobody can step in front of the camera and be you. Nobody can get on a podcast and interview a dentist, for example, and be you. Like, you have to be you. But you can outsource a lot of that process if you have the budget for it. So that's where it gets down to, how much money do you have each month to be able to spend on marketing? And we could go into the weeds on this and kind of explore different levels of budget and what you could get out of, from a marketing vendor as it relates to those services. But at the end of the day, it's either you're DIYing it primarily, or you're hiring some form of an agency to provide strategy, direction, and services so that you can be successful. On the DIY side, you're probably gonna spend anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month piecing together contractors and overseeing the production, and depending on what you're doing to address the market, it may be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less than that. If you're going with an agency, it'll probably be closer to $2,000 to $5,000, $6,000 a month, because they're gonna be doing a lot of that for you, and generally your only responsibility is gonna stand in front of the camera and share your story, and hopefully that story is the right one for your ideal client. So marketing is gonna be critical as it relates to content creation and pushing that out in order to get more clients from your niche. If you're looking for some inspiration from some financial advisors that are doing this well, you're gonna wanna check out Reese Harper's firm, Dentist Advisors. They produce audio, video, resources, blogs, all the things that you would want if you wanted to dominate a profession-based niche. And the website is www.dentistadvisors.com. Another guy that I know who's doing it well, he's a friend of mine, known him for about 10 years. His name is Daniel Zajac. And I believe the website is www.zajacgroup.com. We'll put it in the video there so you can check that out and in the description. But he focuses on tech executives and helps them with stock option planning and navigating decisions around how to best use the proceeds from concentrated stock positions in order to diversify. So those are two great examples on the types of content that you can produce. Dentist Advisors is a little bit more heavily focused on video and audio, whereas Daniel and his firm are a little bit more on the blogging side. So whatever you feel is your strength, that's what you need to lean into. I'd say in today's environment, we need a lot more signal versus noise. So what I found is that video gives you the highest signal to noise ratio, then probably audio, and then the written word. But whatever you're good at is what you need to lean into. The last thing you're gonna need to figure out is your business and lifestyle design. How do you wanna live your life as it relates to your business? Because your clients, depending on the niche that you go with, may have expectations of you. The benefits of going with a profession-based niche is that they're more likely gonna be virtual relationships because you're gonna be marketing around the country, trying to acquire clients through video content, audio, and things of that nature. But it doesn't mean that they might not have some preferences around how they meet with you, what you wear to meetings, and how you show up, when you show up. Are they gonna be super uncomfortable if you're taking a call from Cabo, Mexico, for example? Or if you show up to a virtual meeting with a hoodie on versus a suit, is that gonna make them feel like you don't care or that you're not professional? So depending on the market you go with, you may have some considerations around this. So I would just make sure that you're doing a deep dive into the life you wanna live. Like, do you wanna be 45 minutes outside of a major city, driving into the office every single day, meeting with retired people? Or do you wanna be working remotely from the comfort of your own home, wearing whatever you want, and creating content in order to attract your ideal audience? So that is a consideration when it comes to picking a niche. If you don't really want to create content and you don't care about working virtually and you'd prefer, frankly, to go into an office and meet with people, then you might not be cut out for a profession-based niche, and that's okay. But it is a consideration. And I had to make this decision myself because when I set up my practice, as I mentioned earlier in the video, working with retirees, I made a mistake as it relates to the way I set up my office based on what my then clients or prospects felt like the expectation was for a financial advisor who was helping people manage their money in retirement. So I was in downtown Austin and I rented a space at WeWork. It was a great space. It was a single office. I put a TV on the on the wall. It had glass windows all around. Beautiful. And it was very energetic. There was a lot of people working, collaborating. It was a co-working space. But when retirees would walk in to the third floor in downtown Austin, and they get off the elevator and they see a bunch of people running around drinking beers at 3 o'clock in the afternoon playing ping pong, that wasn't what they expected from their financial advisor. So I was immediately facing an uphill battle to try and get them to trust me because my presentation, the way I designed my business, was not congruent with their expectations of maybe what they were looking for in a financial advisor, helping them plan for a more secure retirement. So I say all that so that you understand that this is an important consideration. It's one that you want to make up front before you decide to go after a niche, because it will have impacts for you down the road. All right, so those are the 4 things you're gonna need to do in order to be successful picking a profession-based niche and growing that around the country and building it into a lifestyle that you love. If you like this video, go ahead and drop me a like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more content from Advisor Growth Experts, where we teach financial advisors how to grow their business, how to buy other businesses, and eventually sell for more. I'll see you in the next video.